Hello there, this is Rom Wills coming back at you with yet another video. See a woman as she is, not as your fantasy. That's very important because both men and women do this, but this is a man gets woman's side, and I'm talking to the men. And too many men don't actually deal with a woman as she is, but rather as his fantasy. And I'm gonna tell you what, a lot of women play into that. A lot of the players, gold diggers among women play into that. Many of the toxic women play into that. They don't give you what she actually is. They'll figure out your fantasy and give you that. See, if you see a woman as she is, you see everything. You see her toxicity, her that she could be a gold digger, that she a player. You see her bad parts no matter what it is. I'm gonna tell you what, if you see a woman as she is, you see good and bad. Because all women gonna have something bad with them because she's still human, just like all men gonna have something bad. But you see her as she is, then you can decide as a man how you gonna deal with her and whether you wanna deal with her. But you got to see her as she is, because see, a lot of men want that fantasy. And a general fantasy is, she pretty, she's cooperative, she'll cook a sandwich for you. Sandwich, my son will correct me. But you got to see her as she is, because when you see her as she is, then you can deal with her. That means from the get-go, that's without her saying a word. Because there's a lot of guys, they'll see that woman and she fine, right? What they consider very attractive. And, the fantasy is that, she'll want him back. She'll cooperate with him. She'll be submissive to him. And, a lot of women, especially women game players, they know all of that. So they play to the fantasy. They play to a man's fantasy. But if you see her as she is and you pay attention to little things, she can't play you because you paying attention to who she really is. That's very important. And see, because a lot of guys, look, let me be real. A lot of guys get caught up in their own egos. And what does a man ego say? Oh yeah, this pretty woman is going to want me and stuff. And she might. Hey, she might be legitimate if you seen her for as she is. But you got to see, you got to look. You can't be, because see, I'm going to tell you something. Here's how a woman work their game, right? Here's how a woman will work her game, right? She'll like talk to you and then, listen to you. She'll do little things, right? Like a friend of mine, he was talking about, he went over a woman's house and she turned out to be a demon lover, but she have her, she'll have her like lingerie hanging out where he could see it, or, different things. And it's like, oh, okay. He fantasizing, but, he found out she was just nothing but a straight player. She just trying to get some money out of him. She did get some money out of him, but he found out who she was. And I know who the woman was. I seen her around a couple times. I was like, her? He was like, yeah, her. But he wasn't dealing with the reality, because I'm going to tell you something with all women, even players, toxic women, whatever. They're going to show you something. They're going to show something. Because as slick as women are, they can't play a guy who's actually looking, who's paying attention to little stuff. Like, pay attention to the little stuff. See, as much as they want to, they can't play that man. See, the way a woman to play a man is she'll play his ego. His ego is putting him in there. You got to put your ego to the side and see her as she really is. That's one thing, fellas. You got to be honest. And yeah, you might not have got none for a while. Yeah, she fine. She got the big breasts. She got the nice old butt dump. And I'm going to tell you what, with women like that who know they can get men, they can be some of the worst. They ain't saying one ain't good or something. I'm just saying they can be some of the worst. You got to see it. You got to pay attention. Pay attention how she behave. Like, was she friendly to you just from the get-go, or when she found out you had some money? Was she friendly to you from the get-go, or she something happened and somehow she see you as a simp, right? Or was she just really being attracted to you legitimately? And you know, I'm gonna talk about on my next sit down video something to really look for as a man. But is she like, when y'all first go out, she's like, well, we gotta check out this little fancy restaurant. And I'm gonna tell you the truth, even when she ain't hitting you with that, pay attention. You look at everything. Because the way a woman really does play a man is through his ego. And his ego, like I said, his ego is like looking for that beautiful, supportive woman and everything, right? And there's nothing wrong with a supportive woman. I'm gonna talk about that in my next sit down video. But you still gotta pay attention. You always have to ask her, what's her agenda? What's her agenda? Always ask her that, right? You know, or that not even ask her. I mean, yeah, that's cool if you can ask her and she tell you. Usually she ain't. But what is her agenda? Understand something. Every time a woman deals with a man, she has an agenda. It's like we can't get past that. We can't get past that. So you gotta figure out what's her agenda. You gotta remember, I don't care how beautiful she is, she probably fixed up. Because one part of how a woman will play a guy, she'll fix up. She knows some guys are liking her for her body, her assets, her face, or whatever. She'll fix that up, and she'll use that against a guy. You gotta remember, there's some predators out there, some black widows and everything. You gotta be like, oh, wait a minute. But if you look at a woman, you gotta put your ego to the side and see what you actually seeing. And like listen to her carefully. You gotta listen to her carefully. You know, listen, what is she talking about? What is she saying something negative about? What is she saying something positive about? You know, is she like hinting that she wants you to spend money? Or is she just being cool with her? You got to pay attention to every little thing, you know? And you got to say, okay, this is who she is. If you still want to deal with her, if you're looking at her as she is, that's okay, that's cool. She might have some bad stuff, but some good stuff as well. And you say, you know what? We can work through this. And that's normal. That's normal. That's normal. But don't go in when you're dealing with a woman with an immediate fantasy. That can be a problem, especially long term. Especially long term, because that's how some guys get played. All right? You know, no fantasies. Get the fantasy out of your head. You know, see her, when you're looking at the woman, look at who she really is, not the fantasy, all right? This is very important, very, very important. So anyway, that's all I have for right now. See her as she is, not as your fantasy. Okay, fellas? And I'll get back with y'all. Peace and blessings.